Please be seated. First of all, I would like to welcome all of you, graduates of the Professional Doctorate in Engineering from the program Software Technology. All of you know me, but for people who do not know me, I'm Mark van der Brand. I'm Professor of Software Engineering and Technology and Scientific Director of this Software Technology program. And I'm chairing today this session. I would also like to welcome family, friends and colleagues and supervisors to this PDN Diploma Award ceremony of the Eindhoven University of Technology, or abbreviated as TUE. Today we are proud to award 12 trainees from this Technological Designers program with their PDN diploma, a professional doctorate in engineering. Currently, there are 10 technological designers or PDN programs at the TUE, 4 at Delft University of Technology, and 5 at Twente University. The PDN programs have been around for more than 30 years, and today TUD, Technical University Delft, University Twente, and the TUE have already trained more than 4,200 technological designers. The PDN programs have been created in close cooperation with industry. They respond to the current needs of the high-tech sector. We train the best young engineers. The selection of the trainees is tough. An important task for these engineers is innovation and knowledge valorization. How to best transfer knowledge into value. While pure researchers are driven by curiosity and want to understand or predict phenomena, the real engineer wants to create value by means of the creation of new and innovative artifacts. That's exactly what the Technological Designers programs are about and what our today's new PDN graduates have accomplished during their 2-year program in industry. As of today, they may use the degree of Professional Doctorate in Engineering or PDN. The PDN degree gives these designers an important advantage in industry. The extra knowledge and experience from these PDN candidates have acquired usually can only be gained after a number of years working in a company. We wish our new graduates a lot of success in their future career. I also want to provide a special thank to our partners in high-tech industry. The second-year design products conducted by our PDN trainees are proposed by the high-tech industry and the industry urgent need for innovation and design engineers who are not afraid to go beyond the boundaries of disciplines that provide our PDN trainees the opportunity to learn and earn during these challenging second-year design projects. These design projects are great examples of the cooperation between the university research groups and the high-tech industry. We therefore also want to express our gratitude to the TUE supervisors that offered support and guidance to the trainees during their project. Before the ceremony begins, first a brief explanation of the protocol. First, the supervisor from the university or industry will provide a short introduction to the graduate, an abstract on their thesis, and will then hand over the diploma. Additionally, the graduate receives the alumni gift offered by the TUE. Because as of today, these graduates are officially alumni of Eindhoven University of Technology. The TUE wants to give her graduates an alumni gift that says, "Proud to be from TUE." This gift, a clean-cut design tube, you can see it on the table, for your PDN diploma is inspired by the eye-catching red slash in the TUE logo. Once all of our graduates have received their diploma, the speakers, graduates, and supervisors have their picture taken. Afterwards, we will join you in the Voorhof, where we conclude the ceremony with a reception where drinks will be served and there's an opportunity to socialize. I will now start with our first candidate, Mr. Samnis, who will be addressed by Dr. Schoenmakers.
Dear Con, I would like to start with a quote from Niels Bohr, which says, "It's hard to make predictions, especially about the future." Now, that is exactly what we were trying to do. We were trying to make predictions about how our electron microscopes at Thermo Fisher would be used in the future by future generations of scientists. And it's then all too easy to dream up all kinds of science fiction scenarios about the usage of these microscopes. And those scenarios can be met with enthusiasm or with skepticism, really depending on the gut feeling of people and the way that they look at it. So another quote says, "The best way to predict the future is to create it." And that's exactly what we set out to do. So instead of just dreaming about how that future would look like, we set out to create that future by actually starting to code, using all kinds of novel technologies, a new so-called intelligent microscope. You had to build for that on somebody else's work, because we already had one iteration of this intelligent microscope done last year. And that actually makes it harder rather than easier, because you have to first start to understand what the previous person has done, see where you can improve upon it, and then start to add new technologies to it. So in the previous incarnation, we already had voice control. We already had an understanding of the instrument where you could say, "Show me all big mitochondria inside cells," and it would understand what that big inside cells would mean. And it was able to detect these. But you had to go beyond. So you really had to go and first interview our stakeholders to see what is really interesting for them. You did that with great care and selected a particular use case for the detection of asbestos fibers in samples. Then you realize that, hey, this is a different microscope than the first incarnation was done. But why do we use a different interface? So you started working on a uniform voice interface that can now address all the types of microscopes that we have. And you really communicated this very well to the team, so we were constantly involved and up to date. Now, finally, it also meant you had to do a lot of plumbing, a lot of groundwork that you had to refactor, because you now suddenly had 3 or 4 use cases instead of 1. And although, you know, that's almost unnoticeable in the end, I think that makes what a great designer is. You do a lot of work, and it just works, and it's unnoticeable how much effort went into it. So excellent, excellent job. Thanks to your work now, we now have some really cool piece of software to work with and to play with for the next years to come. I would like to thank you for your work, for your insights, for your drive and passion. And I would say, despite what Niels Bohr had said, the future has become clearer now. Thank you very much.
I would like to ask Mr. Bhatnagar to come forward and to be addressed by Mr. Pasqualini.
Dear planners, dear audience, Thermo Fisher Scientific is a world leader in scientific instruments. Here in Eindhoven, we designed the transmission electron microscope, which, among others, can be used to analyze material at resolution of sub-Armstrong levels. A very important aspect to reach that kind of accuracy is to have a good alignment of the optics. At this moment, most of the alignment are done manually. That is time-consuming, and we would like, of course, to automate as much as possible to make it faster and to make it more accurate and robust. The development of automated alignment can be done in different ways, different approaches. As we move further into the digital age, we decided to use the power of data and explore how machine learning can be used for development of auto alignments. The project that you worked on demonstrated how machine learning can be used to make the right decision on the corrective actions that the tuning algorithms must apply to properly tune the microscope. There is still plenty of work to do, but this was certainly a good start. Planners, you did a great job gathering a large database that could be used to train the machine learning models, apply the right technique to train the model, and show the advantages of using machine learning for classification of the beam shapes, and you demonstrated on a real microscope. You also created a tool chain that can be easily used by others to extend data in the future and labels and further enhance the beam classification model. It has been a pleasure working with you within the project for the last 10 months. During this project, you proactively worked together with your university supervisor, Decibel, the domain expert at Thermo Fisher, and myself, and many other colleagues. You were always up for the new challenges, maybe sometimes too enthusiastic. You applied and enhanced both your technical and project management skills, bringing this project to a success. Congratulations for this well-deserved PDN diploma. I would like to thank you again for your effort and dedication, and I wish you the best for your future career.
The following candidate is Mr. de Almeida Calheiros, who is being addressed by Mr. Algra.
Dear Giovanni, I'm glad to be here as your supervisor and to have had you for the past year on our project and the contributions that you've given to us at Thermo Fisher. Within Thermo Fisher, the project that you joined was very ambitious and new to our organization. Although we are very competent in building high-end microscopes that do amazing things, the state-of-the-art in technology was not at the level as where the industry has moved in the recent days. And the ambitions that we had was to bring all the advancements of cloud computing that you see today with Kubernetes and containerization and scalable infrastructure, to bring that also in the vicinity of the microscope. From the get-go, it's been clear that this project would be an agile project with not clear boundaries set. But you've felt very comfortable in that context to contribute. With your background in IT that you brought in setting up continuous delivery with build systems, setting up monitoring systems, and introducing new technologies like Helm, you've made a great contribution to the project. I think one of the main challenges you had in the project was not so much at the technical level or working with the international teams, but much more on how do I present the stuff that I'm working on to the audience around me. And there I must also congratulate you that I've seen you made enormous steps in improving in that area. And the peak of that was actually at the presentation you gave at Thermo Fisher, your final presentation. So I congratulate you with that as well. At a personal level, I appreciate having you had in the team a very modest but hardworking colleague. It's not always easy as a foreigner all the way from Brazil to be here. I'm sure you would have liked to have your father and your family here, but that's not happening. Still, you've decided that you like the Netherlands and you like Thermo Fisher, and settling yourself here in the Netherlands. Congratulate you as well with the job that you've taken at our company. And I'm looking forward to spending more time in the future together. So, congratulations.
The next candidate is Mr. Lee, addressed by Mr. Rudolphs.
Welcome to all the people in the audience that want to attend this graduation. My pupil was Jung. We met last year when you applied for the project to develop a data quality dashboard. For OC, it's a Canon company. Data is basically the basis for our future. So monitoring the quality of our data is of crucial importance. And this is an area where we wanted to get more insights. So June took up the project and he arrived in the project team in January, where he got his desk, his computer, and he had to start working on the project. What surprised me is that within a week, June arranged an upgrade for his desk, a kind of desk that he could lift, so he could stand and lower. It was a better desk than I had after 30 years at the company. So I thought, Jung, that's an amazing guy. But now on the project, data quality, what is it? Jung went ahead and had interviews with stakeholders. They were from diverse projects, and he had numerous talks with them to get an understanding of what the needs were. To get it into control and to get to alignment, he also applied different techniques. So he applied behavior-driven design, where he wrote down really formal scenarios, talked about it with the stakeholders, and he noticed there was not really a common understanding. And then he applied using mock-ups, so sketches of what would be the solution. And that really worked. So by experimenting various techniques, he got a good understanding of what were the needs. So based on these mock-ups, Jung went ahead and he came up with a really original novel design to model the quality attributes that are part of ingesting data into our systems. And this model is the basis for a dashboard system for which he built a full prototype. To give insight in the data, the presentation, the visualization of the key performance indicators is crucial. So June also investigated what are strong visuals to show the important aspects from the data. And that's part of the prototype framework June built. To check whether the results that he built matched what stakeholders expected, he did demos, and of course there was feedback and new requirements. So Jung was also in the struggle to balance what was feasible in the scope of his project, or what would be better to handle as future work. I think this indicates that Jung is a clear designer, has a bright mind, and comes up with original solutions. On the personal level also, Jung was really part of the project team. We had talks about everything, about the difference between Dutch eating habits and the Vietnamese kitchen, the way your grandmother cooks meals, and that we just have a sandwich and we go for walking. And then walking, June is also interested in Dutch culture because he he was curious about walking on wooden shoes. So I think that's really a curious person. I think June has a bright future ahead of him. I'm proud that you joined our project and helped us understand how to achieve data quality, and I wish you all the best in the future.
Okay, I would like to ask Mr. Karmas to come forward, and he will be addressed by Dr. Tejada Ruiz.
Good afternoon. I want to extend a special welcome to Costa's family. Lost track of them, but they traveled from 2 separate countries to be here today, so I'm very happy to have met them. I usually give presentations, not really speeches, so I'm going to read just one quote that I wrote down. And this comes from the opening sentence of my foreword to his thesis. And I quote, "This report is the result of an act of courage by a young, talented software engineer who, finding himself unexpectedly in a strange, somehow amorphous project, persevered, kept going until he made his own project and completed it." End the quote. In my country, we have a number of sayings that are not easy to translate, but we usually say that you go for chicken and you get sold guinea pig. For those of you who don't eat guinea pig, that's not very tasty. But Costas came to us because the project that we offered him was very simple. Said we need to develop event detection system, or EDR, emergency device system for autonomous driving systems, so that you can see when the vehicle has an accident and we can check whether or not the vehicle is driving safely. The idea was so simple that a lot of people applied, including Costas here. But when he came to us, he realized, the project is not as simple as it looks. I need to understand what does it mean to drive safely in traffic. That question is a central question of the project. It's a question that we are still trying to work out after a year of research. Is what I would call a PhD level research question. And in the face of that, although he struggled, he kept pushing. And he produced for us our first EDR prototype, which we demonstrated to the company at large about a month ago. He showed today some videos of that during his presentation. And that cemented our ability to pursue this line of research within our department. So professionally, I cannot be happier with you. You were able to talk to a lot of difficult people in the department, I know, because I work with them. They are always busy. They are always running around. You ask them the right questions. You got the right information. You got the right design. You were able to convince others to follow you, to help you, to organize your work. You booked the vehicles to do the prototyping, etc., etc., etc. Every week I met with you was a pleasure to see how much you have worked from one week to the other without asking me for much guidance. You were independent, creative, and the outcome was a real success for us. To understand how good his work was, next year we have an investment of €250,000 to actually make his prototype into a production unit that we can deploy in a number of vehicles to be able to understand what driving safely in traffic actually means. So he opened the door for us, and I cannot be more happy with your work. Thank you very much, and congratulations. So, This is for you, and more important, this is for you. Because actually, you earned this with hard work.
Thank you very much.
Oh yeah, my one regret, we couldn't keep him the company. He found another job. But okay, you cannot win everyone.
Okay, I would like to ask Mrs. Ghosravi to come forward, and she will be addressed by Mr. Jaminon.
Hey, Gilla. When we first did our interview for software dependency management, I was also new at the company, and we had a nice diagram hanging on the wall, which is our reference architecture. But it's in the head of a few people, but it is not represented in the code. And you accepted the challenge to see if we can bridge what is on the wall to be enforced in the code. And I have always one big risk, if you do that, that the mechanism we built is acting like a policing stick where we hit people as a kind of a punishment. And that's what we didn't want to pursue on. So we have been brainstorming a lot how we can do this and increase developer fun while making dependency checking work. And I must say that this ended up with a system that really is helping software engineers while typing real time to indicate what is desired, what is less desired, or what is even prohibited. And the performance of the tooling you developed is in a real contrast to commercial tooling we have been investigated, where you could have to wait for 30 seconds if you change one attribute. And we even have to type for a week to get that system working. While in the system you developed, we can work as a team and all have a very small part of data we can manage to have the reference architecture enforced. You also developed a second part of the tool, and that is a part of the tool that allows us to monitor or look at what-if scenarios and determine how can we change code and how is the code evolving. And that report contains two types of information. It allows us to see the change we realize over time, but also informs us about the detailed changes we can make. And I think those tools together help us really to get the reference architecture to be a reality instead of just this picture on the wall. So with this one, I want to thank you for your nice cooperation and the graduation.
I would like to ask Mr. Lapounet to come forward, and he will be addressed by Mr. Bott.
So good afternoon, everybody. So Arne started with this interesting and challenging assignment called Distilling Insights from Text, written by humans. So this data that we had was actually thousands of log data which were actually filled in by the service operators when they service the OSE printers in the field, which contain the problems and the solutions. So during this project, I guess you had to take many different roles, and I think the most interesting one that you took was of an English grammar teacher, because we found several inconsistencies in the way these logs were actually written, consisting of grammatical mistakes and incomplete sentences. But over a period of time, Arne developed many smart algorithms to get over many of these issues, and he did a lot of nice pre-processing of this data. We were really glad that how he collaborated with different stakeholders during this whole project, and he even approached to the director of the service department and tried to understand his vision on this project, which was highly appreciated, I think. Overall, I guess you felt at home during the whole time, and you were involved as a part of our team, so that was really well. I always found your presentation and communication skills as very professional, So you were always like really professional in terms of presentation, and you always brought through your point really well during these presentations. you also had to deal with a lot of uncertainty because of this research-oriented project. It was, a lot of uncertainty with respect to requirements and the methodology, but over a period of time, you learned your way, and you found basically a way to deal with this uncertainty, and which I guess will definitely be helpful in your future endeavors, I hope. About the technical skills, over a period of time, you gained a lot of new data science techniques. You learned them, and then you even successfully applied to our data, which was really nice. And you became an expert of some of these techniques, I would say, for sure. So the results that you brought by finding patterns within the logbooks, like clustering problems, they will be of really great use within the R&D and the service departments at OSE. So overall, I want to say congratulations on your achievements and obtaining a professional doctorate in engineering. I would also like to extend my congratulations to your family and friends who are attending here, and also, I guess, via the video conferencing I came to know. So thank you, and I wish you congratulations.
I would like to ask Ms. Manique to come forward, and she will be addressed by Dr. Smetsers.
Dear Trupti, what a journey it has been. It was only 10 months, but I'm sure it must have felt like 10 years for you, especially in the end. But it was worth it, because you did a good job. You've delivered a nice piece of work. And this piece of work, what you delivered is basically twofold. First, you've developed a framework for defining coverage that allows a user to define and measure his notion of coverage. And then second, to do test selection based on that notion of coverage. And I think this will prove to be very useful for our team, the VirtuFab team within ASML. And with it for ASML in general. It's one of those techniques that's seemingly conceptually simple, but yet non-trivial, to go from something that's very vague to concrete. And I think it's impressive. The simplicity of the whole solution, I think, really speaks for the quality of it. That being said, today is not just about your work, it's mainly about you, because you are receiving your degree today. So these words are also about you. And for me, when I think of you, two things stand out. First, you have a getting things done mentality. It might sound a bit strange, given the fact that the project took a bit longer than expected, but you have this ability to flip a switch in your mind to just get into a mode of working. And second, and this is much more importantly, you have the ability a sort of innate ability to connect with people, professionally and personally, even if you don't know that yet yourself. And this professional and personal attitude, I think it's very important. So it's remarkable that you managed to become part of our team, despite not actually being part of the team in terms of work. We've all enjoyed having you, and we will all miss you. And these qualities of yours, so your hard work, being a team player professionally, and being likable as a person, I think will make sure that you have the ability to succeed wherever you go. And I'm very happy that this wherever you go is at first within ASML. So you've already received a job at YieldStar. And I want to wish you all the best of luck in that position. So again, I want to congratulate you with your work, but mainly with your personal achievement. I'm proud of you, and you should be too.
Now I would like to ask Ms. Meger Doumyan to come forward, and she will be addressed by Mr. Peters.
Some cheat notes. Dear Annie, after 10 months we are standing here. First I need to apologize about the title. It wasn't as good as it is now. It was more vague when I submitted the request for university help in this project. Good thing that it's vague, because then you can make it own. Things that I told you were the possible outcome of the project were, well, is this or this or this. Could be anything, which is kind of vague. Luckily, it was not this and this and this, because that would be too much. So I introduced you to lots of ASML stakeholders, mainly domain experts, to help you along the way about what is really critical. Those stakeholders behave as ordinary stakeholders, of course. They point you in all kinds of directions and send you in the bush. So it was really a kind of forming and brainstorming in the beginning of the project. So what is the project about? Annie knows, of course. Yes. ASML produces TwinScan machines, and those machines produce wafers. And next to wafers, which carry the chips that eventually are cut out, the machine also creates lots and lots of data. That is for us to improve our product, but also for the customer to help the customer in troubleshooting. And 20 years ago, we created a nice infrastructure called MDL, Metro Diagnostics Logging, now baptized as Machine Diagnostics Logging. And it is quite a nice way of presenting the data. It's really free, lightweight. You can adjust your data, publish it. If I compare it, I usually compare it with Annie, like Twitter. You tag your information, and along with the tag, your text comes. But like, MDL also has tags. But like Twitter, you don't have really control about the data itself, what's inside. One can submit data with a wrong tag, or have some kind of words that you don't want to read. That's the same thing with MDL. As data becomes more and more important, we would like to have more control over what we publish. So kind of compare it with a newspaper with a chief editor on top that says your article is allowed to have that size. And I really encounter that kind of chief editors in my personal life. If you want to publish 2.4 gigahertz of data per hour, no, that's way too much. That's about the MDL part, which we want to get rid of. We want to replace it by an XML-based format. Okay, so then we have two formats, and part of the data is published in one format, and the other data in the other format. And just not exactly the same, and your tooling has to be robust for both formats. Some tooling is using that format, the other tooling is using that format. You're not talking about 2 or 3 tools, but lots of tools. So my request was actually to reduce the period that you have a hybrid situation between your old infrastructure that you also have to maintain and the new one. We had other diagnostics projects before, but this one was different. I explicitly requested Annie not to have any domain knowledge. The file itself will tell you the knowledge what's inside. So apply anything that you can find. In her case, it was artificial intelligence, which is not my domain. So I don't know if I learned a lot about it. It was really a different domain that I'm used to have. I think we succeeded in this project. What Annie created was a prototype that advises metrology domain experts how to organize their diagnostics. The tool can also be used to track how far we are in getting rid of the old infrastructure and going to the new infrastructure. And it really saves a lot of money and pain for us. Now for Annie personal, If I were to describe one thing, it's dedication and output. That's actually 2 words. You have so much output. I don't know how many hours a day has, but she always has presentations and reports. It's for me always a daily job just to follow her. So Annie has decided to go to not proceed at ASML, which is maybe a luck for me personally. Otherwise, I have a day job following her. But I think it's a pity that you don't join ASML. You're very intelligent and very fast in learning. And I would really thank you for your contribution at ASML. It was really valuable.
Shall I open it? Okay.
I would like to ask Ms. Tan to come forward, and she will be addressed by Mr. Schindler.
Hi, Hongyu. I've, in the past, gotten feedback that it's nice to do the speech kind of loosely, without any reading. I've tried different variants, but I will still read it, because I know that you will appreciate it in perfect detail. So I will first spend 3 sentences to the audience, and then I will address you. So, dear audience, dear graduates, for their product development, Canon OC has many models in various disciplines and layers of abstractions. We also have infrastructure for capturing and analyzing operational data from the products that we build. The added value of Hongyu's work for us is that she has significantly contributed to a convincing case for our approach to a digital thread, the line between our digital twins in the form of models and our physical machines. Dear Hongyu, I remember that we talked at the beginning of this project, and I told you, I'm sure that you expect that you will get your requirements finished within maybe 2 months or 1 month, and then you will execute everything and you will be done. And you said, yes. And I said, I'm sure you will be disappointed. That was joke number 1. I really liked your process of meticulously writing down planning and the agreed actions, summarizing every meeting on paper. You were so meticulous that all the minutes were at least 3 pages long, and some of them even 5. This is a general outcome of your very great ability to produce a lot of quantity very quickly and wanting to be complete. In fact, when you presented us with the first version of your presentation, which was more than 70 slides, and each of them with an overwhelming amount of contents, I think that you had actually quite some work to get the quantity and the amount of details down to something, a message that can be understood by a broader audience in the limited time that was given. That's why I would like to give you the following variation of a Mark Twain quote for your further professional career. And to be honest, I can use it as well. I didn't have time to write a short letter, so I wrote a long one instead. All this joking aside, Mark, Bart, Lou, me, and all the other stakeholders have greatly enjoyed working with you. I think that you have not only delivered useful results, which we will pick up and bring further at Canon, but I think you also experience a lot of growth in your professional attitude and skills. One of the skills I would like to highlight is the courage that you bring. First time I saw this was when you were willing to take on a technological supervision of a bachelor software engineering project. And this project, you were standing as a product owner between highly demanding stakeholders from OC and 14 highly performing, energetic, and self-assured computer science university students. This courage also enables you to come with a fully confident demeanor to a moment when it matters, like the final presentation. Well, in fact, you were super nervous. But it also enables you to show insecurity and vulnerability during the moments where it matters again. For example, with the supervisors, so that we can help you better. I want to thank you very much for your contribution, and I'm happy that you like the OC company culture and will continue with us in your new role, which will enable you to do more of the things that you liked to do already during your OT project. And with that, professional Dr. Hongyu Tan, I wish you great success with your new job, carrying your fully deserved PD-Eng title.
I would like to ask Mrs. Tassef to come forward, and she will be addressed by Mr. Gwamza.
Beza, this is it. Your project, sample flow modeling for rapid performance and failure analysis, today comes to its end. And it was the project at Thermo Fisher where you were supposed not only to model the process of producing the metrology data inside the microscope, if it is not difficult enough, but you were supposed to model the process of cooperation of several microscopes in interaction with humans in such a way that we can reason about optimal process performance. So how we can maximize the throughput of producing metrology data going from silicon to the data about quality of this silicon. And you did a very good job. Thank you for that. And since we conducted this project in an agile Scrum way of working, let me close this very last sprint with a short retrospective. At the start of your research, after a couple of weeks, you had initial picture what it is about. So first of all, the scope was broad, not fully defined. It turned out that the requirements were deviating from the initial description of your project, and I am to be blamed for it, I know. And more ideas were coming actually every day. It turned out that the data that you needed to create the models were scattered literally around the globe and were present mostly in the heads of my colleagues. So I remember at a certain moment you took a deep breath, maybe a few more where I didn't watch, and tell to me, I don't really know how to tackle this, but I will figure it out. And indeed, you figure it out. Step by step, you narrow the scope to the real essence, to model the things that are really important. You figure out how to come up with valuable simulation results and also solid modeling methodology. Thank you for that and congratulations. As a fact, we use this methodology in one of our projects as per today. And I have no doubt you will be very good software engineer because you have everything to be able to navigate in our world, in a world of software engineering, where requirements are vague, scope very often undefined, stakeholders come every day with changing requirements, and there is not so much data to verify our designs until the systems are built. But you will figure it out, I'm sure. I wish you all the best in your journey.
Finally, I would like to ask Mr. Utomo to come forward, and he will be addressed by Mr. Hendricks.
Yeah, so who are you? Here we are. Last today, but certainly not least. Yeah, so your adventure started 4 years ago when you came to Eindhoven, to the Netherlands, for your master, after which you entered this program for 2 years, of which the last 10 months you spent with us at ASML. So you joined us in January this year. Your assignment was to redesign one of our more complex and critical components in the wafer stage software, a piece of software that's really in the heart of our TwinScan machines, and something that ASML has been developing already for years. So your assignment was to have a fresh look, and basically you were asked to do a full redesign of whatever was there using a more object-oriented approach. So that was a serious challenge, given the fact that everybody in ASML was already completely blind for the current design. So up to you to come up with something new. So after a few weeks, we had our first PSG meeting, which I assume everybody had. So we had a monthly meeting every last Friday of the month for 2 hours, in which you updated everybody on what you were doing. And by the time, I'm not sure if there was a first or the second PSG meeting, you already had been doing some digging in the software. You came up with a complete list of all the requirements to that component, so reverse engineering. So we were really surprised by the speed with which you did all that. But actually, you also looked a bit worried. You said, hey, why are you so worried? Yeah, I looked at it, and it's not that bad. So you thought, hey, is there enough challenge for me in that? So we came up with some bonus questions for you, just in case your worries might come true. But as time passed, you actually recognized plenty of opportunity to improve on that. Actually, you came up with a completely new design, which kept you busy for the whole period. So you never got to answer those bonus questions, but actually we were also not expecting you to do so. Yeah, we've said it before. We are very happy with your results, with your design. But not only with what you achieved, but especially also with how you got to those results. Well, ASML being ASML, and probably it's the same for the other companies. Everybody is very busy. Me and Maril, your other company supervisor, we were just started in our new roles, so we are also at our max. So we couldn't give you all the guidance, all the attention we think you deserved. But the good thing is you didn't need a lot of guidance. You worked very independently, very much on your own. When you needed help from others, you just made sure you got it. So we appreciate that very much. So you had your planning as guided by the university supervisor in a nice graphical format. And you really made sure you kept your planning. So nobody had to tell you. You planned your own work perfectly. So you're very happy with how you did that. In the process, you kept everybody informed, all the stakeholders. Actually, sometimes maybe a bit too much, because every steering meeting, you made sure to read out the project assignment aloud to us, just to make sure we didn't forget what it was all about. So anyway, we really enjoyed having you on board, having you as a member of our team. It was really a pleasure to work with you, very friendly, hardworking person. Yeah, and I'm convinced that your design, and we already referred to it as why use design, and I think we will keep doing that for the future as well. I'm convinced that we will implement this, your design, sooner or later, and hopefully next year it will be part of our product. So yes, thank you very much. Well done. Thank you.
We are almost at the end of this ceremony, and I would like to address you again. First of all, congratulations with your graduation, also on behalf of the board of the department and the board of this university. From now on, you may use the degree of professional doctorate in engineering or PDN. And I also have to address you on some serious issues, and we do that with all diplomas that we hand out, also PhD degrees, and also with the PDN. So the scientific degree of PDN involves duties as well as rights. As a holder of this degree, you are committed to the standards of scientific integrity, trustworthiness, intellectual honesty, openness, independence, and societal responsibility. These standards are described in more detail in the Netherlands Code of Conduct for Research Integrity and in the Eindhoven Code based on it. You also have duties towards society. You must be clear about the boundaries of your own expertise, and you must communicate honestly and independently about the results of your work, including potential risk associated with it. You are committed to the ethical codes for research and design involving human subjects or animals. Let me add a personal note. I have really enjoyed working with you in the last 2 years, with some of you actually very close as a university supervisor. It was a great pleasure to work with you, and I really wish you all the best in your future career. In the high-tech industry, high-tech companies are in need of technological designers with the skills that you have acquired over the last 2 years. Hence, the opportunities that lay ahead will be endless. To conclude this ceremony, there are a few directions for the closure of this ceremony. First of all, the speakers, graduates, and supervisors will leave the Blauwe to take their picture. I think that will be on that direction. And for the rest of the audience, you can leave via that door, because there are the drinks. That's more important than the picture, I think. We will come to the other side as well when the picture has been taken, and that's the moment that you can congratulate the candidates with their obtained degree. And I hereby close the meeting.